Mr. Gaspar joins us now live. He is currently the founder of GasparGlobal.com and a technology and media companies investor. It's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. First of all, congratulations on keeping all of your hair the last 30 years. Very impressive. Before we talk about the future, let me ask you about that interview that you gave to NBC 30 years ago. How did you know that the internet and all of the information technologies that we now take for granted would come to be what it is?
Of course, you never know. Of course, we were at the very early days of a new technology and a new medium, and it just seemed to us that there was something new being born, something that was dramatically different, that would change the way we communicate. And when you looked at the fact that it was going to be available, up to date, constantly refreshed and constantly available, it made it clear that a newspaper that was being published once a day was going to be in trouble. So it was a lucky guess, but perhaps not an uninformed one.
Well, it got our attention, and we wanted to have you to talk about what you see for the future. So if you take out your crystal ball, it was newspapers back then that you thought sort of might be in danger. And, of course, the newspaper industry is changing, but they're still very much available to us, both in paper form and online. What do you think is sort of the next wave?
Well, there are a few of them, and I thought being here in the studio today, I would pick kind of an obvious one, and that is the role of a local TV station. We now have a Fox News channel that's available on the internet, and it's available not only live, but it's available on demand as well. And it's available not only on our TV sets, but it's available on mobile devices and home computers anytime we want it. And it seems to me that's a game changer, because you wonder, what is the role of Channel 5 News, any local TV station, in that kind of an environment, which is, of course, available and updated once, possibly twice a day. So I see a very significant change. I also think that the world of advertising has not yet caught up with that change, and they will relatively shortly. You see so many new internet sites competing with local TV, and whether it's Yahoo Local, whether it's places like Craigslist or City Search, all of these are not only local, but they're getting to be more local. So you get New York news, or you get news for Forest Hills, and you're able to tune in to things that are really important to you, constantly refreshed. I think advertising dollars will follow that as well.
The advent of social media like Facebook, I mean, for instance, it has just exploded and has become a part of our lives, day-to-day lives, minute-to-minute lives. I mean, I've got my Facebook little page right up here. Did you expect that? And what role do you think that will play in the future?
Well, to start with, did I expect that? No, and that's another thing that has changed. In the old days, things were almost easier to forecast because they moved at a slower pace. The Facebooks and Twitters of the world now come about with astronomical speed, changing things at a rate that we couldn't forecast before.
And such personal information coming out.
Well, it's personal. Of course, that's both good and bad. Yeah. I think one of the major changes you'll see in social networking is something that we haven't seen yet. And that is the ability to find out what your friends like. You know, if you buy a record on Amazon now, they'll find out that if you like this song, you're likely to like something else. But it's gone to the next step now and say, well, not only what are other people like, what are my friends like? If they bought this book, what else did they buy? If they saw this movie, what else would they suggest seeing? That ability to have a social network influence my behavior is something we haven't seen yet. We're still changing pictures back and forth, but we really haven't seen it change our purchasing habits. But it will.
It sounds like it could be a little intrusive.
It's going to be totally intrusive. You know, not only is it intrusive now because we put a lot of things on those websites sometimes we wish we hadn't seen, and I think that's going to be a great business in figuring out how you erase the embarrassing parts of what you put on along the way. But with mobile networks, you're going to see location-based services. They're already beginning to appear. So if you're outside a pet store and they know you have a pet, you're going to get an ad that says, come on inside. We'd like to see you buy something from us that's specially designed for you. And that's going to seem like you're being followed, and your personality and your privacy have been invaded to some extent. We're going to watch that very carefully.
One of the other things that you're looking at is something that you call virtual worlds. Now, a lot of us saw the movie Avatar, you know, and I know when I saw it, I was like, wow, what a fantasy this is. But you actually think that the idea of all of us here on Earth having an avatar that could do things sort of for us in places where we can't be, that's not so far off.
That's scary.
Well, it's scary and it's wonderful as well. If you ever watch a kid playing a video game, you know that they're extraordinarily immersed, and they almost shut out the rest of the world. They're in a groove the way an athlete or a musician is in a groove when they're at their very best, except it doesn't take any special athletic or music prowess to play that game. Try to imagine if you could take that enthusiasm and move it into a school environment. And you know, for thousands of years, we've had a teacher write on a blackboard or a whiteboard, and teaching was a very prosaic art. Try to imagine a world where you could have the kind of interaction you have in a video game, and you could have live interviews in a classroom and bring media into education in brand new ways. I think education is going to be transformed by many of these new technologies.
What do you think will happen to the family, the family? Because right now, you know, you have the Sims, for instance, people losing themselves in these virtual worlds and sort of tuning themselves out of their real lives.
They have. It seems like life in cyberspace is sometimes more fun and more interesting than it is in real life.
Less stressful.
Less stressful. You know, advertisers are beginning to recognize that as well. It's astonishing that this year it's estimated that some $1.6 billion worth of goods will be sold to people who want to dress up their avatar dolls or buy new weapons or shields for their video games. So there's a real life in the virtual world, which we're just beginning to see.
Well, we're going to hang on to this tape, Andy, and we'll have you back in 30 years, and we'll take a listen and see how many of your predictions actually came true. You're so kind to come on and join us.
Thank you for
It's
pursuing.
a pleasure
My
to
great
meet
pleasure.
you. Andy Gaspar is the founder of GasparGlobal.com. Again, all the best. Thanks for your time.
Thank
Really
you.
interesting.